Imagine waking up one morning to headlines saying, "War in the Middle East. Ukraine collapsing under new Russian offensives. Chinese ships surrounding Taiwan. 3 crises. 3 regions. One world on edge." Right now, tensions between the United States and Iran are rising rapidly. Missiles, drone attacks, and military deployments are pushing the Middle East toward a dangerous tipping point. But some analysts are asking a far more alarming question. What if this war doesn't stay in the Middle East? What if it becomes the first domino in a chain reaction that stretches across the globe? Could Russia use the distraction to escalate in Ukraine? Could China see an opportunity in Taiwan? Because in geopolitics, wars rarely stay contained. Sometimes they trigger a domino effect, and the pieces may already be moving. The current crisis began after major U.S. and Israeli strikes targeting Iranian military and nuclear infrastructure. Iran responded quickly. Waves of missiles and drones were launched toward regional bases and strategic targets, pushing the Middle East into one of its most dangerous moments in years. But the consequences of this conflict extend far beyond the battlefield. At the center of the crisis lies a narrow but incredibly important waterway, the Strait of Hormuz. Nearly 20% of the world's oil supply passes through this chokepoint every single day. If this route becomes unstable or blocked, the impact is felt across the entire global economy. Oil prices surge, markets panic, and governments scramble to secure energy supplies. As tensions rise, the United States has deployed massive military resources to the region, naval fleets, missile defense systems, and air power, to protect strategic routes and deter further escalation. But this creates a critical strategic dilemma. The United States is a global power with commitments across multiple regions. And when a superpower focuses its attention heavily in one place, other regions may suddenly become vulnerable, which raises a larger geopolitical question. If America is deeply focused on the Middle East, what happens in the rest of the world? Since 2022, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has been one of the central conflicts shaping global politics. When Russia launched its invasion, many expected a quick victory. Instead, the war turned into a long, grinding struggle that has reshaped Europe's security landscape. Ukraine managed to hold the line largely because of massive Western support, especially from the United States and its allies. Tens of billions of dollars in weapons, intelligence, and economic aid have flowed into Kyiv, helping Ukraine resist Russian advances. But wars are also about timing and strategic opportunity. If a major conflict with Iran expands, American military attention and resources could become stretched. Reports already suggest that some U.S. military assets, including missile defense systems and precision weapons, are being redirected toward the Middle East. For Moscow, this situation could present a potential opportunity. If Western focus shifts away from Ukraine, Russia might attempt to intensify military operations or pressure Kyiv more aggressively. At the same time, instability in the Middle East could drive global oil prices higher, boosting Russia's energy revenues and helping sustain its war economy. In other words, a crisis in the Middle East might not remain confined to that region. It could indirectly reshape the battlefield in Eastern Europe. Now let's look at the second potential domino. In East Asia lies an island that sits at the center of one of the most dangerous geopolitical rivalries of the 21st century: Taiwan. China views Taiwan as part of its territory and has repeatedly declared that reunification is inevitable, even stating that force could be used if necessary. The United States, meanwhile, remains Taiwan's most important security partner. For decades, this delicate balance has helped maintain peace across the Taiwan Strait. But global crises can shift that balance. If Washington becomes deeply involved in a prolonged conflict in the Middle East, the strategic situation in Asia could begin to change. Chinese strategists closely observe how the United States responds to crises around the world. They are constantly asking a critical question: can the United States fight or deter conflicts in multiple regions at the same time? If American military attention becomes heavily focused on the Middle East, Beijing might see an opportunity to increase pressure on Taiwan. This pressure might not begin with a full invasion. Instead, it could take the form of larger naval exercises, air incursions, cyber pressure, or even economic blockades designed to test international resolve. However, launching a full-scale invasion of Taiwan would be one of the most complex military operations in modern history, and the stakes would be enormous. Taiwan produces more than 60% of the world's advanced semiconductors, making it a critical hub in the global technology supply chain. Any major crisis there would send shockwaves through the global economy, affecting everything from smartphones to advanced military systems. So while China might increase pressure, a full invasion would still carry massive risks. But even limited escalation could trigger consequences felt around the world. In international relations, there is a well-known concept called strategic overstretch. This happens when a great power becomes involved in too many conflicts at the same time, forcing its military, economic, and political resources to spread thin across multiple fronts. History shows that rival powers often watch carefully for these moments of vulnerability. When a major power is distracted or overextended, competitors may test its limits or try to exploit the situation. We have seen this pattern before. During the Cold War, regional conflicts frequently overlapped with the broader global rivalry between major powers. Crises in one part of the world often created strategic opportunities in another. Today, some analysts believe the world may be entering a similar moment. With tensions rising in the Middle East, the war continuing in Ukraine, and pressure building around Taiwan, multiple crises could begin to interact with one another. Importantly, Russia and China do not necessarily need to coordinate their actions directly. Simply pursuing their own strategic interests at the same time could still stretch Western resources and attention across several regions. And if that happens, the world's most powerful military alliance could suddenly find itself managing multiple simultaneous crises. However, the domino effect is not inevitable. Russia is already heavily committed to the war in Ukraine, where the conflict continues to consume enormous military and economic resources. China also faces massive economic, political, and military risks if it attempts to seize Taiwan. Launching such an operation would be one of the most complex military campaigns in modern history. At the same time, the United States still maintains the most extensive global military alliance network in the world. From NATO in Europe to strategic partnerships across Asia, American power is not deployed alone. Deterrence, therefore, continues to play a crucial role in preventing escalation. Taiwan is strengthening its defenses and continuing its security cooperation with the United States, with weapons deliveries and defense planning moving forward despite tensions in the Middle East. Ukraine, meanwhile, continues resisting with the support of Western allies. Even rival powers must carefully calculate the risks of escalation before making major moves. In other words, just because an opportunity exists does not mean countries will take it. So could the Iran crisis trigger a global domino effect? Possibly, because conflicts rarely happen in isolation. A war in the Middle East does not stay confined to one region. It influences energy markets, military deployments, and strategic calculations across the entire world. Russia might see an opportunity to intensify pressure in Ukraine. China might test the waters around Taiwan. But the greatest danger is not necessarily one single war. The real danger is multiple crises unfolding at the same time. When great powers begin testing each other across several regions simultaneously, the risk of miscalculation increases dramatically. History teaches us an important lesson. Major global conflicts rarely begin with just one spark. They begin when several sparks ignite at once. And today, the world may already be watching the first one.